They were breaking down castle walls and capturing cities, but the next day they could be hanged. They earned the army's highest pay, yet they were always the first to die. The king rewarded them with gold, but if the enemy captured them, torture awaited. They were the most valuable and most feared men of the Middle Ages. In the 1200s, being a siege engineer in Europe was an impossible balance. They knew mathematics, understood physics, and designed massive trebuchets. They built siege towers, dug tunnels, and brought down walls. At night, they were called to the king's tent to present attack plans. If they failed, execution awaited. If successful, they became heroes. Every siege was a life or death game with no margin for error. They earned £30 per month, while a knight only earned 10. That meant £360 annually, while a common soldier earned 30. In large sieges, they could receive a £200 bonus, half their yearly pay. A carpenter earned £100, a blacksmith £150, while engineers earned twice as much. By age 40, they could be wealthy. By 50, legendary. Few knew that engineers actually controlled spies. They sent men into enemy castles and measured wall thickness. They located water sources and identified weak points inside. They paid spies and reported intelligence directly to the king. This work gave them extra income. They were more than builders. They were intelligence chiefs. Their psychological warfare techniques were astonishing. They hurled dead animals into castles to spread disease. Beehives were launched by catapults, terrifying the defenders. In pitch-black nights, human remains were dropped, breaking morale. Some engineers built massive drums and played them all night. The sound waves struck the walls, keeping the defenders awake for days. They didn't just destroy walls, they broke spirits. In 1304, King Edward had a giant trebuchet built called Warwolf. Construction took 3 months and 150 men worked on it. On its first launch, it destroyed a quarter of a castle wall alone. The defenders wanted to surrender, but Edward refused. "I spent this much money, I want to test my weapon," he said. Warwolf fired for 3 more days until the wall completely collapsed. The most shocking privilege was the loot-sharing system. Normally, the first to enter the castle would loot, but engineers got a guaranteed share first. It was paid directly from the king's treasury, with no risk to them. Knights could return empty-handed, but engineers always profited. They also worked like mercenaries, serving today one king, tomorrow his enemy. The German master Urban first served Byzantium. When underpaid, he switched to Mehmed the Conqueror, casting the giant Shahi cannons for Istanbul's conquest. Skill and knowledge had no nationality. The highest bidder won. Digging tunnels was the deadliest job, working underground. They reached under castle walls and dug stone foundations. Wooden supports were installed, then burned to collapse the walls. Soldiers stormed in, but sometimes tunnels collapsed early, burying the engineers. Sometimes the enemy dug counter-tunnels, causing sword fights underground. The worst scenario was being captured. They were not killed immediately. They were tortured first, forced to reveal which weapons they built and tunnel locations. Wounds were left on their bodies to scare other engineers. Financially, this profession was worth it. Peasants earned £30 yearly, knights 10, engineers 360. After 10 years, they became wealthy and could retire, sometimes becoming royal advisors. It was the highest paying profession of the Middle Ages, with a perfect risk-reward balance. The chance of dying was high, but so was the guarantee of wealth. Siege engineers didn't just break walls, they changed the course of war, forcing lords to redesign castles and sparking an architectural revolution. The hands that built catapults live on in legend. Castles fell, but their stories endure. As we trace the lives long lost to time, continue this journey by subscribing.